Aribar, hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. Good evening. Is it cold in Peru? Okay. Here it is more or less warm. In Peru, it is more or less cold. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, can you? Okay. 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 We have a problem here. Hello, Houston. We have yeah. Okay. Can you hear? Can you still hear us well? Hello. Can you still hear us okay? Mitravinda Devidasi?
Yes, Gurudeva. We can hear you perfectly.
Okay. The problem is the screen's not turned on. Maybe with somebody who's an engineering genius could go. I think there's a switch behind it. You're an engineer, right? Okay. Yeah. I think there's a switch you got to turn on because I'm plugged in here. Does that do it? Yeah, I'm plugged in with this. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Coming, I guess. Can you see that? How do we do it? Okay. Great. Okay, I'm sure they take care of the kid now. So they could have when we spell bifurcated. Okay. So, let's see here. Welcome to all the world. I'm going to try this here, something else here. Okay, that may be the problem. Yeah. Okay. So it's a few times now. Hello. We want to welcome everybody here in their wetware, and also everybody present through their software, okay? And also all the different subtle beings that are probably coming. Okay? Fairies, there's many subtle beings: Bhutas, Pretas, Kushmandas, Vinyakas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, like that. Yeah. And they have different levels of awareness of our level of existence. So what we're doing here with everybody here, what's happening here? We've got six participants online. Okay, we got one bridge builder, one terminal caregiver. We're ready for any kind of eventualities here. This is the third night of our seminar symposium on Shri Upadeshamrita, or Nectar of Instruction. Okay. And as we explained, the original text, which is only 11 verses, was written how many years ago? 100? Maybe about 400 or 500 years ago. Like that. So it's quite old. It survived. And the actual material you can also find in Yoga Sutras, the same basic ideas. Okay. So we were going through the actual texts here. he said, this is the essence of all advice. He was, from a very high-class Brahmin family. He was prime minister for one empire, with thousands and millions of people under his authority and protection, being forced by the Muslim ruler, and retired, and then took up, complete spiritual esoteric knowledge, life, and so on. And we're reading Carl Jung now, part of our work like that and stuff. And it's amazing that Jung's view of India, the Yoga Sutras and Buddhist things, and how people have different views. He was saying all the meditations in the West in Christianity, such as the what's his name, Xavier. How do you turn it on? Maybe that did it. I don't know. Okay. So I guess we're still working here. No, I'm using this as a hotspot at the same time too, so I don't want to mess around with one of the first. I was studying engineering in the beginning, right? Yeah, and one of the basic principles they taught us in engineering, which is really important, really good. If it works, don't fix it. So right now the hotspot is working, so let's not try. We'll go ahead and every time the amber alert comes on, we'll channel yours. Okay. I guess we're still here. We're still sharing, it says. He renounced everything, and like Jung was pointing out in his lectures too, many people have different ideas. He was saying, for example, the meditational processes in the West, praying, these kind of things, Jesuit tradition. You just let the spontaneous stuff come out. That was his view. You use active imagination and you try and deal with it and so on. But he was saying all the traditions he had encountered in India, they were all giving you the meditation, that kind of thing. So I'm not sure it's actually a valid view of the two, because Jung was presenting these lectures in 1941. So it was like 70 years, no, 70 years ago, no? 80 years ago. 80 years ago, and things have changed in terms of our awareness of India by now. We actually even have 2 Indians here, 3 Indians, 4. I got 4 Indians. I turned the recorder off, and I think I was making it faster for the hotspot. Yeah. But don't worry, he's leaving the recording here. Don't worry, you can trust him. Okay. So, out of all this literature, vast resources, and people appreciating it, we have here, which I would say, very essential studying. So we're starting off 11 texts. This is all of his advice. Talking to the Prime Minister of West Bengal. It's like the Secretary of State of the United States of America walked in here, along with Putin and the Pope. Okay. Welcome, Bill Gates. Okay. Welcome, gentlemen. Please have a seat. Okay. Yeah. He says his first thing is that we're all being pushed. Right? We're being pushed. That's the basic thing. People don't like this. Right? How many people want to be alcoholics? Okay, not a common thing. Even one lady, she was in charge of the pro-abortion movement, and she said it's like some people may say they'd like to smoke, some people may say they'd like to drink. She said, but I've never met a woman yet who says she wants to have abortions. Give me many. I want to have regular abortions. Yeah, but we're being pushed by different forces like that, by sexual pushing, desire to eat, to taste. He defines it into 6 categories. Very nice. 6 for the body. First, you want to taste something nice. Okay, we all admitted we're all addicted to ice cream like that. Yeah. Well, Germans are addicted to potatoes. I'm going to drive all the Germans out of the temple, stop serving potatoes for 1 week. I'll do this. You want to drive the Italians out? No pasta. You want to drive all the Indians out, South Indians out? No rice. Everybody knows. You want to drive the Americans out? No ice cream or peanut butter. Americans. American food. Peanut butter was invented in there. Someone German devotee one time tried to eat it, his mouth got stuck. How do you eat this stuff? American test. Are you American? I'm an American. You're a spy. Eat this. Eat peanut butter. Forgot about it. Yeah. There are 2 kinds of Americans. One cowboy said this: those who own a horse and those who would like to own a horse. How many people here would like to own a horse? I would. I think, well, yeah, I would. They're nice. Okay, yeah, we afford it. Okay. So the pushes are there, desire to taste certain foods. And then after that goes on, and you see very technically your belly starts to become agitated, and now you want to satisfy it. Okay. And after that's agitated, then there's agitation for sexual desires. So he points out tongue, belly, genitals, hell. If you don't control it properly, it just takes you right to all these strange things. So his recommendation is not only eat, sanctified food, cook for Krishna, cook for some kind of higher purpose like that, and then honor it, respect it, and automatically your consciousness goes up. It's a very potent thing. If you want to get free from any kind of substance abuse, cook really nice food at a regular time, offer it to God, and take the remnants that you discover. It satisfies, the intense desires in your body, for heroin or whatever else it is. And there are cases in this of our society specifically happening where people on heroin addiction, not often, because it satisfies certain bodily desires and so on. And the social relationships. Okay. So, and the other part of it, the tongue is also involved with talking. And we talk about stupid things, and we start to have stupid thoughts. And if you have stupid thoughts, and we'll become angry. So, jiva vegam, no, that's the wrong one. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. How to control talking, how to control what you call thinking, and then anger. And if he says you can control these 6 things, then you can give shelter to everybody on the face of the earth. Anybody coming to you, anybody anywhere. But hey, it's not so easy. But in the purport, then Prabhupada goes through and gives very practical, modern perspective on it. What does it mean? Okay, control your tongue. You should put a hole in it and put a padlock on your tongue and never talk. People do this. No, or so many things. Always talking about Krishna. Very practical discussions in here. Then the second half, he, of course, gives his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary. So we covered that first verse. Okay, engage your senses in the service of the master of the senses, the owner, God, and you'll be happy and satisfied. But then, text number 2 and 3, some details. He gives 6 things that will make it very difficult. Over-collecting or overeating, which will, of course, you involve in overworking. I want to ask this question, but our question might be, how many people have 2 jobs? Okay, like that. Yeah. One time, we had one devotee translating. It was just a devotee. Afterwards, one of the black devotees said, brother, you're a pretty good translator, but if you got a day job, keep it. I have my day job. Yeah. So yeah, this is why? Because you're trying to get more than you need. Usually, that's the cause of the whole thing. God will protect us and allow us to live a simple, happy life. Once you're in the prison, you're fighting the whole system. You're doing solitary confinement, so many things. But once you make this choice, hey, yeah, I made a mistake. I accept it now. But look, I grew up. My parents were functional alcoholics, and I was beaten and humiliated my whole life. And so I just look at everybody. And I don't know how to make an honest living. Okay. Yeah, we got counseling in here. One devotee, right? Chandradas, who's a Christian psychologist. We got counseling here, and we got occupational training, so you can go out and you can get a job when you leave and stuff. And then you make that decision. That's the whole point. You put your heels together 3 times, which only our Western devotees want Krishna, and say, hey, basically it's it. You just, in all sincerity, you say, help. I want out. Please forgive me. Okay. Take the rope. I got the rope. Okay. Yeah. This is what baptism means. This is the point where you say, I surrender. I accept you. Please somehow, whether it's a Christian, a Muslim, or whatever it is. Okay. And God then says, okay, I'll never give up on you. You know how much time it takes. So at that point, we got some connection. Yeah? We start following the process. So if we come to that point, at least, where we're starting, you see, it's at that point, the whole prison system, they're not going to beat you, they're not going to give you problems. They're going to try and help you. If they see you're starting to get a little bad association, then they may whack you. In fact, they may be more strict with you than they are with ordinary prisoners about what you do and who you associate with, because they see that this guy's got a chance of getting out of here now. There he is. So we're going to, but you realize, this is for my own good. Okay, now that's another process of realizing, okay, this is for my own good. Once you take the spiritual life, your path will be covered with, not will be covered with roses, with thorns. Yeah, but these are all the ones that keep you on the path, you know. Yeah. Okay. So over endeavoring, or desire, collecting more than necessary requires endeavoring more than necessary, and God will arrange a simple, happy life. And if things happen, then you'll be with you, and you realize, okay, I'm going through this for a certain reason. And I can tell you a whole story about one devotee who was a thief before he became a devotee, an armed robber. And he got armed robbed. Everybody was wondering, wow, this is terrible, And he was thinking it was terrible. The next day he came and told me, he said, no, Swami, I didn't tell anybody this, keep it a secret, so his name is a secret now. Before I was a devotee, I used to rob people like that, And I can see now in my heart, I had not really completely given it up. I was still thinking, yeah, things get tough. I go over, knock off a couple witch pigeons, you got your, yeah. But he said, after experiencing it, he said, I could never do that to anybody else ever again. Now I see how much pain it caused. Okay, so yeah, this is mercy. Okay. The other thing is loyalty, which means starting to desire this stuff. It all starts off that way. Prabodhananda Saraswati says, whenever you see good food and good drink, you can say, this can be the cause of all my problems. This can be the start of all my problems. Be careful here. So as soon as you start desiring, I know I have what is it? I have 4 shirts, but boy, that shirt looks very nice. I like another shirt. And so pretty soon I have, whatever. Once the desire is there, we've got to be careful with that. And if we're chanting everything and following God's process, Krishna in our heart will be saying, watch out, be careful, right? So many times you're trying to do something during the day, and you can hear your intelligence is saying, this is not so good, that's a little dangerous. You're going to lose time, you're going to waste your time. Yeah, okay, yeah. So these are the 6 things you say will cause a problem. Hankering for more than you need, and then having engaging in activities which will make you forget God altogether to get it. And finally, once you get it, you're happy to put up with it. Okay. And he also says, keeping association with ordinary dudes, jana sangha, hanging out with the guys and stuff. And what else do we have? Following the rules and regulations, not for the purpose of advancing, or not following them at all. Because there are rules and regulations, What are some rules and regulations for a Muslim? To follow the Prophet Muhammad, may his name be blessed. Huh? Yeah, 5 times a day you have to offer your basis and say prayers. Okay, yeah. And also, yeah, you should observe the month of Ramadan, which involves fasting and everything else. Once in your life, if you can do it, go to Mecca. Yeah, there's a whole system there, And for those people at that time and that place, it works. I'm accepting that. Different people in different situations. And so you need somebody who can come and make a deal with God. Okay, I look at all these people and adjust the basic principle. The basic principle is you should love the Lord thy God with all their heart, all their mind, all their body. Secondly, love your neighbor as yourself. All the rules and regulations are stacked on this problem. The same, everybody. Love God, love people. Okay. But then the details are required. Yeah. So that's the second text. 6 things that are going to make it difficult. The third text is 6 things that makes it easy. And being enthusiastic, which we said is always working on what do I want in life? What do I want? What do I want? Again and again, you got to work on it. You got to figure out what is it? Why did I come here? What is my life? What's going on? And then once you got that clear, well, how can I achieve it? Inch by inch, it's always a cinch. There's a takeaway for you. Inch by inch, it's always a cinch. Yeah, doesn't have this. You think, this is impossible. Okay, what's the first step you can take, which is going to put you on a better position? Well, I can do that. One of our biggest book distributors in ISKCON, by Sheshika Das, we were brahmacharis together. Okay, we dug coal together. If anybody catches that joke, we dug coal together. We were in Brahma Temple in Where's that place? It's Berkeley and everything else, and so forth, so on. So we go back a long way. He took second initiation, the same letter I took first initiation. But he said after whatever it is, 40, 50 years of going out, being a street preacher, and approaching people and everything else, still his mind at this time, rebelling and everything else. So he tells his mind, okay, we're not going to distribute books today. Are you sure? Oh, I'm sure. We're not going to do it. Yeah, I know. Forget it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But we're going to go to the park, but not to distribute books. No, nothing. Why are you putting those books in the car? Well, I don't know. It's a good place to keep them. Oh, good. Okay. Now we're going to take some books. For why? I want to walk around with them. Okay. Hey, there's a girl coming down here, but we're not going to distribute books. We're just going to say hello and wish her a good day. Oh, so yeah. Then inch by inch you get there. Then your mind will say, well, it's pretty good. It's okay. I don't know. Yeah. So what is the goal and how to achieve it? And if you got that in Krishna consciousness, then you'll be enthusiastic. That's the main thing. With that, some patience, right, and some determination. Utsahan, Nishchayan, Daryat. And if you're enthusiastic, automatically patience just comes in very naturally in the right proportion. Otherwise, it becomes lethargy. You just don't put patience first. Always be, and determination. I'm never going to give up. How many times will you try? Forever. How many times? Forever. How many times? Forever. I haven't gone through this sometime. My God, finally, Chanika Pandit, who's the guy? The Machiavelli of India. But Machiavelli was like a small child before him. He's the guy who advised Emperor Chandragupta who stopped Alexander. And that's quite an accomplishment. Alexander is considered from the West to be the greatest general who ever lived. Anybody know about the glories of Alexander the Great? A little bit, yeah. Boy, he was in Macedonia, took over from his father, conquered Greece, conquered North Africa. Darius, who had the Persian Empire, who had something like 100,000 soldiers came with them all there, and Alexander had something like 20,000 or something. It's just incredible. He went along with his cavalry, and Darius had his cavalry in front of his lined up soldiers, and suddenly Alexander was going along a little bit slow. He turned to the left, and behind him were the what do you guys call it? It's a common word we use. Okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. God help us. You throw stuff. It's a common word, but these guys were guys who worked on foot and had big slingshots like this with rocks. So suddenly Alexander turned his cavalry, and these guys stepped forward and started whacking away in the opposing cavalry. They couldn't turn back. He cut right into the space between two nations, were like part of the army, and broke them. And now he's going back towards the king, and the whole thing just fell apart. And so 20,000 men, he said 100,000 men in route. Then he headed east. And where's the first place he conquered in India? It's the northernmost university. It's older than the Nalanda. Takshila. So his thing was, if you surrender to me, I'll make you part of my kingdom. Then you get your place. You don't surrender to me, I'll kill you and all than half of your subjects. Count them out, 1, 2, 1, 2. So Takshila Raj is looking there. He says, so he surrendered and joined Alexander's army. But the next river was Porus, was his name. He was a really powerful guy and everything else. And to cross the river with soldiers in armor is not a good thing to do. Trying to cross the river with your guys in armor and stuff. So Alexander was on one side, Porus was on the other. And then Alexander set up camp and he started sending for more supplies. And every now and again he would go, send his troop up and down the river. And Porus would send his troop up and down the river. This went on for maybe about 2 months, And then one night when it was raining, Alexander, so you could hear Alexander's guys moving up the river. It's okay, some nation, some people up the river. But then he did it. He cut across the river above there, and they weren't ready for it because he got in condition to it. But so now Porus is sitting there. Is this a military here? Is this a pinning force, or is this a real body? And where's the real guys? He said, okay, I got maybe coming to the north. So he sent his guys to fight off the guys who made it across. and they were to hold him back long enough so that the real force could come across and the battle happened. So Alexander first tripped him and got his soldiers across. Then he started going away at it, and Alexander's technique was hammer and anvil, infantry in the front, soldiers in the back, and cavalry in the back. So it was working, and so finally about 3/4 of the way through the whole battle, he yells at Porus, so what do I do with you when I defeat you? They said, you should treat me like a king. And Alexander said, okay, enough for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, and he surrendered to him. Noble guy. The next river was Chanika Pandit and Chandragupta. Yeah. And that's where they stopped. The whole thing stopped. Yeah. Who was Alexander's Brahminical advisor? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. You don't know? Aristotle. Yeah, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates. They had an entire line. Letters were going back and forth and everything else. And so they both had advisors. And then Chandragupta was Chanika Pandit. So they came to this point there, and it was just, other side was, because Porus is floating down. So when Chandragupta was able to assemble a giant imperial army, and so when they got there, his soldiers said, we know you're Alexander the Great. We fought more people than before, and you've always been in the front of the army. You've broken every bone in your body, but we're tired, and they have more elephants than we have horses. When they speak of the size of their cavalry. So Alexander, it was basically they were going to revolt at that point. Smart enough to figure out this is as far as I can get. So like a good dog, he turned his back on Porus and kicked dirt up in his face. So I could have beat you. And that was the end of Alexander. So many very, very powerful, intelligent, people in the history of the world, right? And with enthusiasm, always keeping the goal in mind like that in the process, and then with some patience and determination like that. And how many times are we going to do it? And there's no unlimited determination to achieve Krishna. So Chanika Pandit, getting back to him here, this is the guy he was. He was the advisor. If you had a good chance to look at this, it's called Chanika Shloka, or Chanika Rajamiti. It's very, very nice text. Very, very good advice for political science. He says, poverty cannot stay where there is constant endeavor. Right? Ignorance cannot stay where there is constant recitation of the scriptures, the Vedas. And simple reactions cannot stay where there is constant chanting of the names of God. Very good advice. Very nice, in terms of solving your economic problems, you say. Just go on. You're going to win. You're going to make money and everything else. Okay. Utsaha, Nishchaya, Darya, determination. And what else? Not associated with stupid people. So caught up. The last 2 days. Okay, now today we can go ahead and finish off here. So, again, this is vedabase.io. Very nice resource. It has, the whole 30 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Krishna book, which is the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Charitamrita is how Lord Chaitanya taught this 500 years ago. Very, very nice summary of the science of self-realization. This is a biography of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, which is very interesting. It's like how he developed this whole process. There's a 1 volume. I think this is 3 volumes. Yeah, this is 2 volumes. It's big, detailed. But there's also a 1 volume thing, and it's such a it's done very well after he left the part of his body. Many interviews and stuff. You saw like this is what it took. This is how this has not been just fall from the sky, right? Yeah. And now I can help. I can participate. Well, I asked many devotees if they read this, and they say yes. And I asked how many cried when they read it. Everybody thinks it's right now. He goes, wow, this is what he had to go through to make this thing possible. I should put a little effort into this myself. More books. Okay. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya is extract of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada wasn't planning on doing the entire 17-volume Chaitanya Charitamrita, so he extracted 5 conversations out of 25 or 30. And it's very, very nice, philosophical. It's very good for academic people because it's only 500 years old, There's 5 little conversations with different scholars and people like that and stuff. Yeah. And of course, here's the one we're on now. Yeah. And these are different extracts. This is from the actual original Vedas. We have something which actually comes from the original Vedas. These are Upanishads. You see, it's very, very intellectual. You know, when it's Bhagavatam. This is a summary of one topic. Okay. Most of these are, the journey of self-discovery is also kind of a general thing. Most of these are extracts or general summaries like this. They're nice. This was 500 years ago by the principal disciple of Lord Chaitanya, and is considered incredible in religious theology. Basically, this is the summary, and the Nectar of Devotion. It says the complete science. Right? How many people know of Teresa of Avila? Oh, he's gone. Yeah. Okay, she's a Spanish nun, and she wrote a book. She wrote other books. One was maybe like 16th century or something. So she wrote one book. It's called The Crystal Palace. Right? Yeah. And it describes, right, different levels of spiritual development. You know. So as I'm remembering, as it starts off, you kind of get the impression that she's kind of an old, jolly nun, friendly, and like that. Unless you get out of line, and then she can, But it's kind of exactly what you'd like from a nun. But okay, yeah. I don't want you to see. Don't you go out with those people anymore? Okay, I won't do it. Yeah, good for you. Have them come and talk to me. And she said, okay, my confessor, my boss, the bishop told me to write a book for the new girls about what is spiritual life and development. And she said, I don't know if I can do it or not, if I'm very qualified, but at least it will help me forget my arthritis. So here it is. You know? And she's describing these stages. I have Russian ice, okay? I have, American ice from Boise. If I apply heat, what happens to it? It turns to water. It doesn't matter if it's Christian saint or Hare Krishna saint. If we're talking about a science, we're going to find the same things happen. And so it's so nice. You can match up exactly what she's saying, but she's looking at it from a different perspective. And sometimes it's even better for us because we're coming from a Western perspective, you know. And so once you can see the descriptions like what she's describing. So Nectar of Devotion is a description of spiritual development by the process we're following, we're adopting, and all the way up after liberation. Basically, everything that's in there you can find in this book. But this is like 1,700 verses as opposed to 11 verses like that. And it's extremely analytical for the modern world, extremely detailed, extremely beautiful. Professor David Haberman from the Department of Philosophy at the University of Indiana, you can look him up, David Haberman, he did a translation for somebody in Delhi. But it's very nice, you know, especially the introduction. In the introduction, he goes through the entire history of the whole of the Rupa Goswami and everything else, and then drama, the history of drama, because our yoga is drama. You can connect up to architecture, you can connect up to medicine, you can connect up to political science, you can connect up to drama, right? So what we're doing is singing, dancing, and drama. Lord Chaitanya was always acting out the meaning of the songs. If you do that, you cannot get a better meditation than singing and dancing a song. Your whole cerebral cortex, everything else is involved. So it's a very natural meditation. And he describes how it works. Formally you started off, and then after a while, this penetration, this development. You do this at this stage, do this at that stage, do this at that stage. One devotee came to Prabhupada in Florida. He said, Prabhupada, what should I do to advance in spiritual life? And Prabhupada looked at him and said, you should eat less. He said, well, Prabhupada, last year you told me to eat a lot. You eat a lot of prasadam. And he said, well, you did what I said last year. Why don't you want to do it now? Okay. Yeah. So there are different things. If you're coming off a heroin addiction, okay, then it's very important to eat maybe even more than you need just to deal with it. But the next thing is, okay, now So different levels, the different medicines for different people. Okay. This is the big brother, Nectar of Devotion. And before us, we did live the Bhagavatam like that last 3 weeks. Ramayana is Mahabharata's 100,000 verses. It's full of incredible stories. We don't have any. We have some devotees who translated it, what's her lady? Kamala Subramanian. Yeah. I mean, she was empowered by God to translate this thing. She did her thing on it. You know, it's just, I found it one time, I started reading it on Friday evening. I was lying on the stairs. I just couldn't do anything else. And I know many other people had the same experience. Once you pick it up, you can't put it down. And she tried to do other books after that. They were okay. That one she was just, and the philosophy and everything is quite, she only one place in the whole philosophy where I think she's a little bit aberrant to what we consider God. Theology. It's when Krishna saves Maharaj Pariksit in the womb. He enters into Uttara's womb and saves Maharaj Pariksit from the Brahmastra weapon sent by Ashwatthama. And for one moment, Krishna has to enter into the Supreme Brahman to get his power back. God doesn't have to do that. Yeah, that's the only. Actually, always, Krishna's God and everything else, and his position and perspective. So, very good. We have it here. This is Krishna Dharma's Mahabharata. Yeah. So he was, I think, a sergeant in the British Army or something. So it's a very, very good summary. Everybody you're going to get the summary because you don't translate and publish a 100,000 verse book without dying in the process. And it's a fact. The Ganguly version is complete. It's about this big. Yeah. Maybe 20 pages, maybe 5 pages of the names of weapons they're using at Kurukshetra. Most people have said, and they had a lot of weapons. He has like arbustas, kimpakas, tirdakas, mudwakas. Okay. Okay, red slingshot, blue slingshot. Yeah. Hydro, what do you call it? Yeah. Okay, so Mahabharata is, the Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Mahabharata. It's the essence of the whole philosophical and cultural thing. Ramayana is 1 million years ago when Lord Ramachandra ruled the world. And we had Light of the Bhagavat, which we did on a previous seminar, which is the 20th chapter from the Bhagavad. My gosh, okay. Brahma Samhita is another esoteric book. Okay, where are we going here? So, here's the first one. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak. The mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Your devotional service will be spoiled by 6 things. 6 things for favorable. Okay, and finally, today, when we finish up here, he's talking directly now about association. 2 things in the book, a process and association. Are the 2, which is more prominent? Association. Yeah. If you associate with people who smoke, you'll start smoking. Same anxieties, the same way of looking at things. After some time, you do it. You want to stop smoking? Don't associate with people who smoke. Yep. That's simple. Arjuna's whole problem at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita is he has to give up the association of his family members, his cousins, and people like that. It's the most difficult thing we have to face. Is these personal relationships. Okay. So now, first verse here, he defines what is association. I'll chant together. I'll chant, and you listen, and you chant, and I'll listen. Can you see it? Big enough? Control plus does it. Yeah, control minus makes it smaller. 1 pill makes you larger, and 1 pill makes you smaller. The pill the mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice. The guy was a priest, right? Alice in Wonderland must have some religious significance. Dadati pratagrinati goyam akyati prichati bhunkte bojayate chaiva shadhitam pratilakshanam. Yeah, so your whole vocal apparatus is purified and your body is purified. Okay. Offering gifts in charity. Okay. Accepting charitable gifts. There's 6 things that are in pairs. Giving and receiving charity. Revealing one's mind in confidence. Inquiring confidentially. Accepting prasad and offering prasad. Spiritual food. Are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Prabhupada is saying these are universal. Universal. Chandrika Pandit again, he says, there's no show of affection like a gift. Right? I was just on the phone with him today. Maybe it was 35 years ago. My friend Jai Krishna Das. He's Italian, Joe Gennaro. Business guy, big mustache. He's the guy who had the parking lot cleaning business I mentioned before in Florida. He with his partners and stuff, and just, had to set the suits and everything else. And he had maybe about 15 guys would go out, and maybe 30 people will go out on 15 parking lot cleaners. The big parking lots, people go clean them all up. And it was a good business. It was boring as the dickens. Yeah. He said the most interesting thing they would do is every now and again they would resurface the parking lots and put in white paint. That was like really exciting day, But he said, yeah, but it was good money. Yeah, everybody needed it, like that and so on. So anyway, he's going on like this and that. And he's, got good money, a competent guy, Sicilian background, and everything else. He said, I'm still I was married and divorced and stuff, but still I'm so agitated and this and that. And I'm a devotee. I want to not get involved in this again. Then he said he saw I was watching it and told me, he said I was watching the animal channel, and he said it was the sex life of rhinoceroses. You can watch that on the Animal Channel, and the he rhinoceros is reciting poetry, and she rhinoceros is kicking him in the face like he's reciting his poetry. Still, he's running after her, And he said it's just like Krishna was just showing me this is all it is, It's the same as a rhinoceros, and materialistically, a woman's thinking, well, what is it? Mother Uma. When Hansa Duda came to Berkeley, he came from Germany, like that and stuff, and some of his close disciples followed him and stuff. And people with Mother Uma, like that, And so she was this tough German girl. And so anyway, one of our young devotees, Brahmacharis, Radha Govinda, the same thing. Finally, he's thinking about getting married. She called him over one day and she said, look, a woman is interested in one thing, how much she can make that man work for her. He said, I was married, and I worked the first one until he dropped. Then I stood up on his head, and I was looking for the second one. She said, I know I used to be a woman. So he decided not to get married for 3 months. 3 months after that, he got married. Okay, yeah. So anyway, he said the same thing. This is like God. It's like Krishna was just showing me. He said, but still, I'm looking for a pink rhinoceros. Okay, yeah. So not too long after that, maybe about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and it was Srinivas. Srinivas across the street. Remember him? Yeah. I was at his house in San Jose. I was there with, it wasn't him. Maybe a Tandavika. Maybe I can't remember who it was. One or two. Anyway, they were there and they had a home program. There was a pink rhinoceros, And I said, where'd you get this? He said, well, you want it? Just take it. Okay, so I took it. And I put it in a little box and mailed it off to Jai Krishna. He told me he got home from a hard day's work and was opening his tie and looking at the mail, and there's a box from Hanuman Swami. He opened it up. He pulled it out. He said the whole evening he was like down dancing it and taking it for dinner and everything else. He called me, He sold his whole house. He sold his scuba diving stuff. He sold his motorcycle, put everything in the suitcases and moved to Haiti. But he took the pink rhinoceros. Today he called me about what's going on, all the other job and this and that. And he showed me the pink rhinoceros. Yeah. So there's no show of affection like a gift. Because you can show somebody, you understand. You got that. Okay, I was out looking for a Christmas gift and I found this hunting knife and I thought of you. Here it is. And, oh, thank you. You would touch me, in my heart. Yeah. So this is a fact. It's universal. Same way with devotees. Most devotees is giving. We probably very much encourages in the beginning. You give gifts to people and stuff like that. Which can help them in their emotional service. Guide them. Okay. But the most important thing is this talking. He says here, giving and receiving gifts, asking questions and answering. And that's how we really establish confidential things with people. Christmas time, what do? All these 6 things. You invite your near and dear ones to pass the holidays with you, look for special gifts, you have special food, like that. You know, Cuddy Shark, what is it? Black label, Johnny Walker, red label, or whatever it is. Like that. Oh, whoa, Johnny Walker, red label. Yeah. And psychiatrists hate Christmas because everybody's engaged in, you know, giving all these gifts and all this stuff, and they're not used to food and then they start talking all these confidential things come out. I don't know how many people, you know that Christmas for home with the family sometimes can be real hell. I mean, it's like getting rich food and offer it, and my God, it's just some of these things come out are just unbelievable. You know, what people do like that, home for the holidays. So then, okay, well, what's happening? I saw in the newspaper that, you know, Uncle Jack and Aunt Mary are getting a divorce. Well, it's because, you know, she won't get her welfare from her previous husband if she's married again. So they're legally getting divorced, but they're still going to live together. Oh, yeah, in the kitchen, right? That's usually what happens. In the kitchen, you go, people discussing stuff. They go back out into the dining room, into the living room. And sociologists study this stuff, you know. Keep the iron smile. Everybody practice the iron smile now. It's a very useful tool. When German devotees showed me, distributing books, he says sometimes you have to show the iron smile. Yeah. I'll give you a sales technique now, for psychology here. You know, where you pick somebody out here. Okay. Prabhu, you like to eat worms, right? You broke. Yeah. You want to give me $5 million, right? You put the question so the answer is naturally positive, and you smile and shake your head up and don't say anything. I mean, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. The person, well, not really. What kind of worms are you talking about? Yeah. Anyway, now you got to take away from this thing with $1 billion. You know? Yeah. Daddy, I can go out with Billy tonight and come back after 9 o'clock, right? Yeah, smile. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is the main thing he's talking about. This is how we really associate with people, talking confidentially with them, sharing food with them, beer, whatever it is. And then what's the other one we got here? Yeah, and gifts. Okay. It's okay. That's what for example, if I buy something from you, you're not associated. And it's value given for value received, that's okay. Okay. But if we start doing charity and exchanges like that, then there starts to become an intimate connection and associated. Yeah. Not you, it's just your job. You're telling people. Yeah. But I'm paid for it. Nothing personal. Okay. Yeah. Okay, yes, sir.
You know, on this principle of giving gifts regarding Maharaj, comment to give something with a motive.
Yes. That's, you know, he's talking, okay, now we're talking here about general principles, which he's saying this is what you do between devotees. The text doesn't, you know, it's a universal principle. Now the next text, okay, thank you very much. Control F, right arrow. Let me go here, okay. And these are all people donating. I told him he should update the list. People who donated within the last 6 months. Okay, please repeat. Krishneti yasya girita barasadriyeta dikshasti che pranatadischa bhajantam isham what is the harmony? Yeah, this S is kind of almost in the throat. Shrushaya bhajana vignam an anya. Yeah, this is good exercise for your body scientifically. You know. Nindari shunya hridam ipsita sangalabhya. In the back of your book. Where is it here? Yeah. On page 106. Our online audience will hear this. We got the book on this one, page 106. Sanskrit Pronunciation Guide. Like that. Yeah. And this is the basic thing. Because again, there's so many nerves in your vocal apparatus. You see it goes gutturals, ka, palatal, ja, sha, ta, ta, ta. So this goes scientifically to every place like that forward. And the gutturals can be gutturals, ka, or it can be voiced, ga, ka, ga, ta, da. Ta is behind the teeth, right? Ta, da, ha, ba. So two categories, voiced and unvoiced. Ka, ga, ta, da, pa, ba. Yeah. Okay. And then it can be aspirated or unaspirated. So it can be rada, it can be rad, ha, or it can be rad, red hot, red hot. Yeah. So we see the ones with the H after, it's all one letter actually. The girl is not Rad Harani, she's Rad Harani. Yeah. And this has a very scientific stimulation, so many nerves, you're chanting properly. If you can't do anything else, wash your mouth, and you'll feel right away. Okay, so you just purify yourself by chanting. What does he say? Now he goes to how to apply this with devotees. Okay, now we're getting into Krishna consciousness. The first thing, Diksha, the first thing, Krishneti Yasya Giritam. Anybody who says the name of God, talking about this, somebody will hit his finger with a hammer, and he'll say usually one of three things. Two of them have to do with the Muladhara chakra, the very lowest chakra in your body, or he may say the name of God. They say, oh, God damn it. Ari Bhagavan? What do carpenters say in India themselves? Huh? Hey, Bhagavan. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's Bhagavan. The name of God is there. It works. Yeah. Okay. I've heard that when the Twin Towers fell to the ground and burning up and everything else, Osama bin Laden said, Allahu Akbar. Therefore, he's a devotee. Yeah. And we know that we can talk to him on the basis of Scripture. And if we do it properly, maybe touch his heart, and the guy says, you know, I'm wrong. You know, let me preach to people now to not do what I did. Yeah. It's a whole analysis of people. The name of God does not appear in the mouth of somebody unless there's something going on there. Otherwise, they'll talk about urination, defecation, or copulation. It's all the Muladhara chakra. And all of these have taboo words which go with them. Urinating, copulating, and defecation. Yeah, that's one Christian preacher, Christian guy said, yeah, all you people, black guys, all you people using the F word. Like that. I want to redefine the F word here. Right now, that F word, you say that F word, it means I forgive you. Like that. Yeah. Yes. It's really good. It's really good. Look it up. You know, the guy that people mad. He's a good preacher. You know, the F word, I forgive you. Okay. So this is saying the first thing is you find people who basically, you know, they can say the name of God. And some of them can even do it systematically, like that. But still, they have so much conditioning from the previous lifetime. They're going through so many processes like this. I think in the Bible, these are called young men in Christ. Like that. You find the same thing. There are young men in Christ, mature men in Christ, and old men in Christ. You find all these three categories. There are young people that are coming. There's nice people like that. We had a nice program in Santa Cruz Mountains one time. They always had a big house. They're running a nice room to one guy, nice guy, vegetarian. We had a big program there at their house. They invited people there, bringing their deities and nice gifts and stuff for Krishna. So he also wanted to give something to Krishna. So he went out and got a big 1 liter ice cold bottle of Budweiser beer, the king of beer. So he's a devotee. Serve God, you know, but this doesn't quite, well, actually, Krishna doesn't, you know, it's really good, but Krishna doesn't actually drink beer, you know. They said, well, yeah, I can see that. Okay, I guess God wouldn't drink beer. Better. So, yeah, and sometimes more advanced at heart, you're going to properly baptize, initiated, pujari, and everything else, because their faith in the holy name is just, so you can see that. This guy is a neophyte, pure devotee, but external conditioning, habits, education, is not there yet. So, at least, you know, Hare Krishna Prabhu, okay? It's very important. Second level, Dikshasti Chaitanata Vishcha Vajitam Isham. If he's taken initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, Acharya, Diksha, baptism, whatever, and engaged in worshiping Isha, the Supreme Lord, which Prabhupada translates as the deity. Okay, so this means basically what we're calling in ISKCON second initiation. Harinam Diksha is where you just take the holy name and chant and everything else. And Prabhupada didn't require the four principles before Harinam Diksha in the beginning. No? Okay. Second initiation is a more formal thing where now you're formally matriculated in the school. You have certain responsibilities. You see these Mormons, the other guy, Mennonites, the other ones, Mennonite, the U.S. here, huh? Can't hear you. Huh? There's two groups very similar. Huh? Anyway, they ride in buggies. They don't ride in horses. Amish, yeah. And they have the kids that do wild things, like they put like electric horns in their buggies and stuff. And people are probably here because they're not formally initiated yet. They're not a part of the body and blood of Christ, the body of Christ. So it's a very clear idea. At a certain point, something happens and you're accepted. So you have certain character, comportment you're supposed to do, and a certain level of realization. It's like being matriculated into the school. You can take classes and show up and ask the professor, hey, I'm thinking about this school. I'm also thinking about that school. But I wanted to see how you're teaching this here and stuff. Can I just be an auditor? Yeah, sure, it's okay. Yeah. Then maybe you decide, okay, this is the school, this is the career. Okay, and I want to become formally in this church, this tradition. Okay, you got to do this, you got to do that. Okay. And you show up in the class, and the professor says, hey, I see your name there. Congratulations, yeah, you've already heard most of this, and maybe this time you're going to do a little more seriously and stuff. And I'm going to change that a little bit. So yeah, when we're chatting, doing austerities before initiation, it's okay. You're getting credit. But then there's a whole thing. You make this commitment. A boy and girl are very committed to each other. But on the day of the wedding, almost everybody is just nervous. It's like, okay, it's like, because, I look like a real fool. Indians make a big deal out of it. You got to do it in front of 400 people. So at that point, it's like, I mean, yeah, but even India now, I'm going through this right now. I spent maybe 1 hour today on dealing with some of this stuff, going through it. Because Indians are starting to believe, yeah, divorce takes care of it all. Just going, I don't care about getting an ulcer. I'll just go and have it cut out and have it sewed up. I tell them, no, I know, I grew up in it. And what these people are exporting to you just doesn't work. Maybe it's better than other things, but practically speaking, it's not a good solution to the problem. So I recommend taking a second wife. That went over real big. First one. I was kind of even doing it as like an extreme case there and stuff, just showing the proportions. Yeah, but you got to take care of the first girl. You made a promise and so forth, so on and stuff. Well, she can go find somebody else. If there's $100, take care of your little problem. No, it's not a little problem. Abortion's a big deal, yeah. So anyway, this is a very serious process here of being initiated, being a civilized person, following the whole process, religious activities. And acharya, because there's so many acharyas, what do you have to do to become a Christian? To baptize, there's Catholic Church, there's certain rules and regulations. Catholic Church allows marriage, allows divorce. I know there's a long time they still didn't do it. Yeah, still not doing it, stuff. Yeah. And even still, probably Lutherans are probably pretty, Presbyterians and Lutherans are pretty strict. They chant on beads and everything else if you're really following it in some groups. So anyway, there are rules for how to conduct yourself and be in a proper moral, ethical relationship with God. He creates the rules. And then spiritual activities to stimulate this stuff. So he said, okay, if somebody's in that level, then you pay your obeisance, they took our, Hare Krishna, please Sadakari, Majjamadakari, using the ground. Yeah. Okay, and then the person's not perfect, but their material desires are under control and they're diminishing. It's a convalescent stage. Your material desires are under control and they're diminishing at that point. But we don't talk about certain things because this guy still has that particular thing in his heart and stuff, and it's diminishing. So you can live with that kind of person. The problem is that ISKCON is like a bag full of rocks with sharp edges, and everybody keeps irritating everybody else. I want to get up early. I want to go to bed. He said to stay in the bag, and after a while, all the rocks become very smooth. Yeah, you learn how to Live together and promote your spiritual consciousness. And finally, the result, the conclusion, is that one should, these 6 exchanges, like, Prabhupada's remnants, people, anything left over, This is somebody, again, who's described in the next verse, is not a part of the material world now. They've achieved perfection, they're connected to Krishna, and every activity now is just done it, gone there. Tata Gata Buddha, the Buddha who's gone there. Some Buddhas are on the way. So this is our last. He's actually equating this with sannyasi, right? First initiation, Charitable. Second initiation, third initiation, Dandavats. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Right? As a formality and everything else. Okay. But actually, I'm a cheater. I'm disguised as a sannyasi, so you don't have to worry about it. But it says this, God, I didn't want to take sannyas because all the formalities involved in some ways. It's supposed to be giving up formalities. But whenever one of our big centers like Mayapur, maybe 3,000 people there in the festival, on the festival, big festival, then maybe 100,000 people will go in front of the deities on Purnima. So you're walking around like this, everybody is bowing down to you. It's just, it's ridiculous. What do you do? Okay, you can bow back to everybody. This turns out to be one day you maybe pay your basis maybe 250 times, 350 times, and you feel like an idiot, like that. So yeah, but on the other hand, it makes you okay. I gotta act properly here, and so on. So it's that's a basic kind of description. You'll find 3 different levels. You'll find young men in Christ, adult men in Christ, and you'll find old men in Christ. Same divisions. You realize Kanishtamadakari, Madhyamadakari, Uttamadakari. Yeah. That's someplace else here. That's the one I think. Okay. Okay. So any kind of questions here on the last verse in this series? That's it. We can come back. Let's go to the last verse. Control, function, right arrow. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Don't talk to yourself. Okay, I won't. Okay. There's this last one. Okay. Dristai swabhava janatire vapu shrash chadoshire. Na prakritatvam iha bhakta janasya pashyat. Gangam bhasam na khalu buddha pena pankayer. Brahmadravatvam apagachati niradharmai. Distayi sabhajanatera vapushash chadoshayar gangam bhasam na khalu buddha pena pankayer. I got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sannyasi, I should know these things. Probably all the sannyasis in Mayapur festival, all the sannyasis there, and he was heavy with them. Oh, Prabhupada's so heavy on women, and they're 6 times more lusty. Okay. Everybody got it. He didn't know some verse, so he burned them to pieces. Okay. Tell me a verse glorifying Guru. Glorifying Guru. Okay, then you go down the list, and everybody. So the Bhaktivedanta Swami was the last guy on the list. Everybody would say the verse. He was thinking, he had to think of another one. He got the very last one, and he repeated one, and Prabhupada looked at him and started smiling. I said, yeah. He said, but you should know so many. You should understand what is the position of spiritual master, understand properly, and so on. So I should know these things, being a sannyasi. Okay, now here's the very last one. So he's talking about the Uttamadakari in the last verse, okay? And now here he's describing what it means, soul minus. Okay. Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, fully awake. A pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee having a body born in a low family, such as a software engineer. No? Okay. What else? You come from a family of dog eaters? Hot dogs? Did your family eat hot dogs? Yeah. Nobody's really quite sure what's in those things. So I'm from dog eaters. Okay. Yeah. What else we got? A body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the devotee of a pure body of a pure devotee. But despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. This is the Buddha Pedapankai here. Very interesting. Buddha is Sanskrit, and bubbles in English, and burbujas in Spanish. In your culture, bubbles. Huh? Yeah. It's interesting. It's onomatopoetic. It sounds like what it looks like. You know? Bubbles. What does a rooster say when he crows in your language? Yeah, what do you do? In English he says cock-a-doodle-doo. What does he say in your native tongue? In Manipur, the rooster says cray cray cremomo. That's what he says. Cock-a-doodle, cock-a-doodle, cock-a-doodle-doo. English, cray cray cremomo. In French, it's something like How do you say? Oh, the roosters were. Don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is onomatopoetic. So now you learn the Sanskrit word today. Buddha. Okay. Yeah. Cannot be, even though there's bubble, foam, and mud, they cannot be contaminated. The Ganges water does not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without consideration of the water. So Prabhupada goes ahead here about Shuddha Bhakti and the pure devotee and talking about this, details of this. This is what we want to talk. We want to associate with the Madhakaris. We want to help Madhyama. Want to associate with Madhyama Adhikaris. We want to give help to Kanishta Adhikaris. And we want to look for people at his highest platform and stuff like that. So distinguishing, because there's details. Because somebody may be a very, very high Madhyama Adhikari, but, the Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama, Adoshvada, Sadhusanga, Bhaja, and details. And many, many descriptions of the actual steps, and they're very universal. They asked Prabhupada, when you touch a doorknob, does it become spiritual? And he said, while I'm touching it. Yeah. I actually saw this one time. I was wondering how food offered to Krishna is transcendental. Before I was initiated in anything, living in Sacramento. And then I went down to Los Angeles somehow or other, and I went to the temple, and it was a big morning class, maybe like 500 people in the temple room or something. Prabhupada was there, and I was watching from some distance. Yeah. And I saw how the modes of nature came right to him and went over like that, And when he was left, I might be forced to scratch myself, okay, but it was all a part of like it was a dance. Everything was a part of like his emphasizing stuff, and it wasn't a part of it that his ecstasy was. He would just tolerate, scratching or something like that. It didn't fit into it. He was just absorbed in what he was doing, like a diamond. You drop it in a beautiful big rough diamond. You drop it in a very fast moving stream with rocks. Can't see it, right? But you hear, feels completely different. So Krishna revealing it to us, or becoming purified, and you start to experience these things. This verse is all talking about discriminating such people and dealing with them and everything else like that. And so on. The very, very, first three verses are about more the process. Now it's talking about how to find different kinds of people and associate with them. What's Billy Graham's level? What level of you read this? You say, okay, that's what he's at. I got a lot to learn from this guy in terms. You see that different Christian groups. It's like we're doing programs with the Jesuits. We got a lot to learn from them. One of them actually did a big program in the Catholic Church, back and forth, a heavy program. And when through the 70s, the guy been a monk for basically his whole life. He was heavy. He read about us, and he was pointing out a lot of defects. And we had to admit, yeah. And he finished off, and he said, "It seems to me that the Hare Krishnas have a lot to learn about administration from the Catholic Church." But also it seems that the Catholic Church has a lot to learn about metaphysics from the Hare Krishnas. Yeah. How do you defraud priests in your church? Yeah. Okay, well, we do this and that. Okay, good idea. Yeah. That's kind of Then after this, the 7 and 8 will go back to the process again, gradually. And then 9 will talk about where to do it, different spiritual atmospheres. 10 will go back again to all kinds of associations, so it's a cyclic, in more details. And finally, number 11 will talk about how to associating with Radharani and Radhakund, which is again the most esoteric place. Even Narada Muni and the 4 Kumaras cannot go there. Yeah. So if you even are able to get one glimpse of the place, the real place, because you can go there, you can go to the place where Jesus Christ was crucified, apparently, right? Yeah. Some people may have, appreciated a little bit of the suffering he did for everybody, a little bit of the mercy he got to handle it and stuff. So St. Francis wanted. It's kind of a summary of the whole book. Any kind of questions or comments? Hay preguntas?
Why can't Narada Muni and the 4 Kumaras go to Radhakund?
Because they're on the level of Aishwarya Bhava to some degree. Okay, that's a nice Sanskrit word. They're still impressed with the majesty of God. Yeah? But you've got to give it up, which is very nice. God is majestic and great and wonderful. Hallelujah, Allahu Akbar, Namo Bhagavad. Yes, But in Vrindavan, you've got to sacrifice that, because Krishna wants people to be his friends and play with him. Right? He wants his mother to chastise him and to tease her, and how many women love a rascal child and do naughty things? That was so cute. That's so cute. Yeah. We all have some feelings we can appreciate. It's Vatsalya Ras, parental affection. Okay. Adoration, worship God is great, Shantaras. Servitorship, okay, how can I serve God? How can I do things for God before he even asks? Okay. And then friendship. Okay, now we're equals and stuff. We're playing different levels and kinds of that, carrying on. I think the Bible is describing Moses was like that with God. Some of the things, you see some of the things like that. Okay, the next above that is parental affection, where now God depends on me. Stuff, and then final conjugal, which is again the Catholic Church is also recognized and what enters into the whole thing, which is practically speaking almost lost in the West in terms of what is the real conjugal relations in many cases. Just like it's just you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You go to work. This grace. Maybe some things are there, but it's not. Maybe more to say. People talk about this. You say in the beginning, they say. In the beginning, we're just gratifying each other's desires. Maybe if we stick with it for 20 years, we'll become friends. And actually have something in terms of really real affection like that. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's it's more intense, more confidential. And Narada Muni is kind of like this Vaikuntha. But he goes there to Vrindavan sometimes. He sees things in a certain perspective, a certain attitude. He just, there, but he doesn't stay. He doesn't enter into the fun. Because the counter boys were playing with Krishna in intense affection, like boys playing with their toy soldiers or games and stuff. And children can become so absorbed, in their playing activities. And you see, that's meditation. That's what the counter boys. They only were able to do this after punya kriti, accumulating mountains of pious activities. They were able to come to this point of playing with Krishna as friends. One time in Germany, Prabhupada went there and he heard all this noise in Prabhupada's room and furniture kept flashing around. So Funny Hansa told us to knock on the door. Prabhupada, what's wrong? And he opened it up and Prabhupada's glasses were disorganized. His cursor was in the wrong place. The furniture was overturned. He said, Prabhupada, what happened? And he said, I was wrestling with Krishna. He said, and I won. Yeah. Yes. Okay. But you can visit. Go for a visit, maybe. Yes, sir. Well, I guess so, yeah.
Like on the material side, we go to passion, ignorance, passion, goodness, and we move in these three modes. is it something on this side also where you could move between the Kanishtadhikari, Uttamadi, Madhyamadhikari? Do you go up and down, or do you stick with one path?
Okay. So, Bhagavad Gita 240. If we quote these verses, it's all natural instruction, right? I got my link here. Our book will be coming out soon. You should buy it. We put all the verses quoted in natural instruction because they're all textos claves. I can't remember how to say this in English. They're all essential verses. They're not just some verse. Something's 240. Remember the verse number. Nehabi, Kamo, Nashosti, Papachavayo, Navijate, Swapamapiyasya Dharmasya, Trayate Mahadobaya. On this path, there's no loss or diminution, and a little progress can save one from the greatest danger. He's introducing Buddha Yoga. He's introducing Buddha Yoga in some chapter. That's the process, is that if we're following the process, then we're making progress, and progress is eternal. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says two things are going on simultaneously. One is your karma, and the other is your development of commitment to truth. That's how you define Bhakti Yoga, as commitment to truth. Okay. So, yeah, maybe you have a little attachment. It's like a bull. Some bull came in, some angry bull came in, we're all running. This guy can tear the tables up, knock everything over. It's just like, but if he's got a rope hanging down with it, and he's got a nose, brings the thing to his nose, and a rope hanging down, if you grab that rope, sorry, fella, so sensitive. So even though a little attachment at Mahabharata, the Maya can take you through any kind of modes of material nature she wants to. But you don't experience it the same way as somebody who's like in a Kanistadhikari stage, Madhyamadhikari stage. The overeating is a Kanistadhikari, overeating is a Madhyamadhikari, overeating is the Madhyamadhikari, and how you're going through and understanding what's happening is different. Yeah. Is that some perspective? Now, again, if you're in the community, not like somebody's like our German mentality is it's all like you are either a Doshvada or Sadhusanga or Padanaguya. I say, no. I mean, it's more like, okay, I'm basically at Nishta, I'm always getting up, always chanting my rounds, always doing my service, and then I'm Nishta Ruchi. And sometimes, I'm really getting nice. On a pretty regular basis, I can do some nice chanting, I can focus and get some taste. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. Okay. You'll see something interesting on the news today. So, what are we on here? I'm on the point of oh yeah, Nishta. So then sometimes Ruchi or taste and Asakti is that you're really starting, you can see how, I can be so attached to Krishna in the material world, it will just become an illusion. I'm already seeing like how to some degree it's just, I can't relate to things anymore. Just like, how did I ever enjoy that? Or why was I ever afraid of that? Yeah. So, okay. So maybe once every 5 years you have some real doubts. Okay, those Shraddha. And once every 5 years you actually experience Krishna prema. Yeah? Okay, yeah? And so again, if we're on the Kanistadhikari platform, then the modes are much more powerful. So you're a true devotee until 10 o'clock in the morning, and then you're dovetailing your activities with Krishna, and the evenings fall apart. offer whatever it is you offer. Pizza or potatoes or rice. Because then more from 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock is Sattva Guna, 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock is Raja Guna, from 6 o'clock to 2 o'clock is Tama Guna. What is the happy hour for the fools? You put it right there, hey, 6 o'clock. What's the happy hour for the businessman? The bank's open. Right? You see that? So that's kind of what's happening. But when you become a Uttamadi, then you don't, there's going to be some times, again, Uttamadi means Bhava Bhakti. And Bhava Bhakti you're not going to have. It's impossible to have accidental fall down at that point. And then you're not going to You know, this doesn't happen. You fall down because you wanted to. You wanted to make the deer your pet and forget Krishna. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Okay, we should come to a close here because we are German.
Just have one short question I've been wondering about the last few years. Can you discuss for us about Kalamanyam Adhikari does two things. One is, how do we get to a point where we can treat devotees in the right way? Because that creates that level that you know how to discriminate. It seems like that for some reason, that's where a lot of people get stuck. So that's one thing. And I know it has to do with having compassion for those that are, not on your level. But I'm wondering, why do people get stuck at that level? I guess why do people? Why are they not able to understand how to treat one another? Or what are your theories behind that? What does the scripture say?
Oh, it's a relay. Run around the parking lot. Hello. Good job. Can we just go and cut and paste here? I'm going to cut and paste. Find people and put Kama Gayatri. How can Kama Gayatri come to the point of distinguishing other people? Where's the Kama Gayatri? Yeah. I've actually probably said that you should not generalize the questions in public and stuff. But that's kind of the thing is that everybody's different. And this is the summary. It's pretty good. If you know first aid, you know it well, you can help a lot of people. You can keep them stable until they get to the hospital where an intern can take over, and get you can put a tourniquet on, he can get there, he can get it connected back up. But next day, your elbow's smashed to pieces, the doctor x-rays, and then you got to have an orthopedic surgeon, come in. And so, there are different levels of preaching, and this is great, the basic book. But then after that, then there's somebody else who have so many books. And the Bible becomes full of stories which illustrate different kinds of people. Was Daksha simple? Was Daksha simple? You get two people here. One was simple, but not offensive, and the other was offensive, but not simple. Ajamil was simple, but he wasn't offensive. And Daksha was, was very careful, very pure guy, everything correct, all the rules and regulations, but he's offensive. Okay, so then we start reading the stories and looking at them, and you think, well, I can relate to that. Every single psychological circumstance we can encounter. And so the saying here, you're going to follow the process and keep association. Associate with devotees and follow the process. And of course, associating with devotees means you follow the process. That's it. How do you finish off the Alcoholics Anonymous meetings? I went to one time. Huh?
Keep coming back and work.
Yeah, everybody holds hands. They say, keep coming back. It works. It works. Keep coming back. It works. Okay, so keep reading the information. It works. It works. Keep reading the information. It works. That's it. If you just come up reading this book and the association of devotees. Hello, my name is K. Gayatri, and I'm a materialist. Oh my God. Yeah. It's the same process. It works. It works. So basically, I just associate with devotees is the basic answer, and then you just follow the process, and it works. You'll see you become gradually elevated. You can see the stages. You can see how to associate with devotees differently. You start to become where you can recognize. Okay, Mahabharata can recognize it's four things: God, loves God, avoids the demons, preaches to the innocent, and makes friendship with the devotees. And you do Christian church will tell you the same thing. But as you become more advanced with the Madhukari, then you can see how nobody is a demon. When I deal with people like today, people involved in these divorce proceedings and everything else, they start to hate their spouse and stuff and all this. I can tell them, if you always do this idea of being a friend and being compassionate towards them and stuff and trying to help them, sometimes, what do you call it, what's it called? Tough love. Yeah, it's a fact sometimes. That's the thing you're doing, but you're doing it because you love the person. The kids are out back, they just pour gasoline all over the neighborhood cat and they set the cat on fire, little kids, and you come out and wail the dickens out of them. Because if they did that, they'd be scarred for their entire life. They would never forget what they did. She said, you would never do that. I've done that one time. One kid, I beat it. I just heavy with him. So finally, at heart, he accepted he'd done something. It was bad, but it was in anger to the child. Okay. The kid was digging a hole in the ground, and the kid, by accident, the thing came up and hit another kid in the face like that. So the kid that got hit in the face just reacted with anger and started beating the other kid with a stick like that, and on the face also. So my intelligence worked really quickly, and I just grabbed the kid and did it and said, no, never do that, And he wanted to be forgiven and stuff like that, but I refused to forgive him because he wasn't accepting that this is something you never do. You never do. Because at some point if something happens, you become angry, you shoot somebody, an adult or something. But finally, when he actually let it into his heart and accepted I did something fundamentally wrong, then I forgave him and stuff, and he took his hand and walked him back. But I saw this is Krishna gave the intelligence that, later on, someone did that, he was in a position where his anger, he wouldn't do it because it entered so deeply into his heart that you don't respond like that toward people. So it goes on like that with different levels of purification. And that's why we have so many stories. You read the entire Bhagavatam and look at the stories and stuff and you find yourself. Okay. And it's tremendous for women. The pregnancy of Vivi in the evening. Was she a bad girl? Not really. She didn't want to have. Why did she want to have relations with her husband? And she wanted kids. It's totally understandable. But she should have been a little more careful. So then it's very nice devotees. You read the story and you realize, hey, this is I got to be careful here. How many stepmothers in the Bhagavatam have good histories? Look at almost all of them. They're poisoning their everything else that goes on. So if you're a stepmother, you got to realize this is a dangerous position. Guys don't really deal with these kind of things. The Bhagavatam is for everybody. So how can I recognize not even in the last few years, my father was divorced, and after that his wife got remarried 18 times. So probably could justify. He was the first guy. My older brother and sister, and I was growing up, I'm remembering those things. And I realized my mother was a stepmother to them when they were probably already they must have been like about 7 or 8 years old. So she married a guy who had 7 and 8 year old kids and stuff, But I'm remembering now, I remember now how she was talking to my bigger sister, and I realized, she wasn't her mother. She was talking about a hope chest. You know what a hope chest is? You don't know? She knows what it is. It's gone now, Yeah, it's when you get full sets of plates and all this stuff. When I get married, I'll have all this stuff. Your dowry kind of thing, She was talking about with my big sister, and you keep these things in the hope chest and stuff. So amazing. She was a really good lady. She was able to deal with that role because it's difficult. It's very difficult, even for monkeys. Okay, so thank you all very much. And it looks like tonight we're only having water, but we love water. A big glass of water. Thank you all very much, Hare Krishna. We're ending our symposium here and we're on to the next sacrifice. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
There's more than water.
Okay, there's more than water. There's salt. Oh yeah. I'll have some salt.
Thank you, Gurudeva.
Gracias a todo el mundo. Upendra's here again. We're talking now. What do we got here? Participants. We have Carlos Rold. Ishwari Radha Devi Dasi, Julie or July, July Quasar. Okay. Karuna Shakti Didi and Mitravinda Didi. Okay, so muchas gracias a todo el mundo por su asociación. Esperamos que Upadesha Amrita está entrando en su corazón.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Haribol, muchas gracias, Guru.